Bullseye.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to PFC Live. My name is Brian Harrington. You already know that. And this is an NFL show. So why am I having DDP from DDP Yoga? Because I want to. Because Diamond Dallas Page growing up, I don't want to be a mark or a fanboy, but growing up, DDP was the equivalent of, I don't care what you say or do, I'm going to do my thing, and if you like it, love it. So my guest right now, Point Pleasant Borough High School Panther standout basketball star, Diamond Dallas Page. How are you, my friend?
I am unstoppable, bro.
How about that for an intro? Point Pleasant Borough High School Panthers basketball star. I'm trying to be different. I'm trying to bring you in different. You've done media galore. How is that for like an introduction?
First time ever, and being a Panther, who did pretty good in the round ball game. It was something I was just talking about today with my buddy. I'm in Boston right now. My buddy Gene Levanchi, he runs a show here on Fox. He's the morning show. We were talking about balling back in the day when we were in our 20s in the leagues, and I said that's the only thing I miss. I miss being able to get out and throw the rock up. I can still shoot, but running, after I beat the hell out of my body from 35 to 49, running is not great for my knees or my back, and I'm so strong, I don't want to feel weak,
I could have done the normal intro, 3-time WCW champion, 2-time U.S. champion, 4-time tag champion, 1-time TV champion, 4th Triple Crown, 4th ever Triple Crown in WCW, 1-time European, 1-time everything. I mean, Battle Bowl winner. I mean, you actually won a tournament to be the #1 contender, and then the NWO came around, and your title shot went where?
It went south, but you know what? Best thing ever happened to me. I mean, whenever there's some kind of negative that pops up, I always think, okay, what's the positive here? Mm-hmm. And the positive was I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't ready for that spot. I thought I was, but when in retrospect, when you look back at my career, I was ready right when it happened. 1996, my career blew up. I was 40. As in 40 years old, didn't start wrestling until I was 35. So I was constantly finding ways to hold back the hands of time as I've been on this journey, a la DDP Yoga, which we'll get to later. But, when your career blows up at 40, I can't even begin to tell you how much you appreciate it, and it was an amazing ride. I was ready. 97, I had a feud with Randy Savage. It was the feud of the year.
You get me goosebumps when you bring that up. You got me goosebumps.
It actually beat out Stone Cold and Bret Hart. That's how good that feud was, because their feud was unbelievable.
What do you think was the big reason why that feud was the feud of the year? Is it because of the personal thing with the ex-wife, and that was brought into play with the whole, hey, they're married, and everyone was like, whoa, what is that? Like, people, I don't know if they really realize this is pre-Twitter, pre-online, pre-everything. So the wrestling fans weren't aware of what was real and what was fake, and all of a sudden the Macho Man comes along and calls you out and cuts your promos, and all of a sudden it gets real. And the big part that I love about you is the rib injury. You wore that rib injury, like you sold that injury for how many years, by the way?
Oh, for a long time, but years. But I literally, Brian, pissed blood 13 out of 16 weeks.
Wow.
When Randy dropped that elbow on you from the top rope, which he didn't just fluff off, he jumped another 5 feet in the air in his 40s and landed on you. You were his crash pad. The first time he ever did it, there was nothing, and I mean nothing fake about Randy Savage's elbow. Nothing.
You know what the big thing about Macho Man? Number one, he should be in the Hall of Fame. Number two, you should be in the Hall of Fame with the accolades I brought on. It'll be pretty cool if you both go in at the same time. But the Macho Man thing, I think you got the brunt of Vince McMahon telling Macho Man, you're too old to do this. Because I don't know if you know the story, but when Macho was a commentator like you were, Macho wanted to work with a young kid named Shawn Michaels. And he said, you know, I can't do the Macho Man like gimmick or like voice. You probably can. Like, you're like Dusty Rhodes is awesome. He wanted to work with Shawn Michaels. And he's like, well, you know, I mean, he wanted to recreate what he did with the Dragon, like Steamboat. Right. And Vince is like, you're too old. And then he said, well, I'm going to pick up the phone and call WCW. And then all of a sudden, you get the brunt of a pissed-off Macho Man proving Vince McMahon wrong. So you're pissing blood for 17 weeks because Macho Man was trying to prove to the world that he can still go. And boy, did he ever. What was the biggest impact with that feud that really caused you to be like, you know what? You began at 35 as a wrestler, you know, like going into the power plant and all that stuff with Buddy Lee Rogers and Buddy Lee Parker, like Dusty Rhodes, and the Assassin, which I'm going to ask you about real quick about that. When was that feud at a point where you were like, holy shit, I'm feuding with Macho Man Randy Savage? Now, did that ever like come to a point where you realized that, wow, this is the Macho Man?
Well, it happened so much earlier than anybody would have ever known, because I just got done doing the angle with Nash and Hall, who I was the only one who had a legitimate, besides X-Pac, who had a legitimate relationship with those guys. And when I got to put on the NWO shirt after 10 weeks of telling you to go F yourself, you know, and nobody did that to the NWO and walked away. When I finally put on the shirt and hugged Kevin and then diamond cut diamond cut Hall, and the roof blew off in New Orleans, that jettisoned my career like nothing could. And Randy, who was looking for who's the next guy that I'm going to get to work with, since Hogan took all the top shit. You know, Randy was like that niche under him, but he was starting to flounder, and he could have floundered away like so many other top guys have. But he grabbed me and pulled me aside, and he said to me, "Kid, it's your time. We're ready to go. I'm going to Bischoff." And I was like, seriously? Because we talked about it for years, but I wasn't ready yet again. And when Randy made that move, I knew I was made. As soon as he laid me out, and again, the first time he comes off that elbow, and I know he's doing two, and I've been lured in by Nash and Hall, and he attacks me from behind and knocks me out. When he landed on me, I felt like the opposite. He landed on my right side. I felt like the left side of my rib cage had exploded. Wow. And I knew he was going to do it again. And I couldn't believe how much it hurt. But
how bad would it have been if you, like, Macho, can you take a little juice off it? Like, you wouldn't have said that to him, right? You just let me have it.
I'll tell you what I did. After about, because we feuded for 9 months. And after I literally had the friggin' catheter put inside me and looked around, and they're like, you have to stop wrestling. And I paid for my own doctor's appointment. I did not use WCW's.
Wow.
I said, no, I'm not, but thank you. And when it got really, really, really bad, I said, Mach. Now, this is after our first match. Before I get there, I have to, digress. So Savage says to me, we're wrestling in Florence, South Carolina. It's the Friday before the pay-per-view. Saturdays, we were off then because they want everybody fresh. So he says, I got something for you tonight, early on, right? So I'm waiting for him to let me know whatever he wants to do. Every night is a smosh. NWO runs in and kills me. I don't care where we are. I'm getting left lying, period. So Florence, South Carolina, it's just me and Randy in the room. Arn Anderson walks in. He says, so, Randy, what do you want to do tonight? And Randy's pulling his boots up. And he starts, he's at the end of lacing them up. And he says, I think I want to take the diamond cutter. and he went back to lacing his boots up. He almost knocked Arn over because at one time in my career, Arn had told me I was never going to be a top guy. He told me because Savage, Flair, Hogan, Stinger, Luger will never put you over because you're not perceived as a top guy. And I was hot as fuck at the time when he said it. Later on, he would take that back, and I'd let it all go.
A lot of people took it back, though. That's the thing of making you feel good because, you know, you began at 35. You know, why don't we go back? 1979, you tried to start in Canada, and you blew your knee out, correct?
Yeah, I already had a bad hit by a car.
What was it?
It was I had already been hit by a car when I was a kid, so it was the right knee was always bad for me, and I came down and just totally tweaked it. It was like my third match. I knew nothing. I knew less than nothing. And
then after that, you decided to take a break. You were a bodyguard for a little while, correct? You actually ran your own club, right?
I ran I got my first chance to run a nightclub. I've been bouncing and bartending and all that shit up till then. And at 23, I got my first opportunity to run a bar, band, just it was unbelievable.
Pink Cadillac, right? Pink Cadillac?
That was later. This was the Longhorn Saloon.
Okay.
Had a lot of fun with that. And then I went to Houston, Texas, and I got lost in the booze, the broads, and the party. And just when you're in a nightclub and you're actually running the nightclub, you're like a celebrity all your own because everybody wants to know you.
Now, did that groom you for the lifestyle that followed with WCW, with the booze, the broad, the whole, hey, listen, on the road as long as you are. And by the way, after hearing about the catheter story, it pisses me off how people are like, oh, wrestling's 100% fake. Come on now. He's pissing blood out of catheter in his dick. Come on now. Work with me here, people. Now, did that groom you for the lifestyle that was going to come? Because there's a lot of wrestlers, God rest their souls, that did get locked into that lifestyle, like the booze, the pills, the drugs. Did that groom you to know what's coming up and to know how to, take it easy a little bit or no?
Oh, yeah. When you start wrestling at 35, you go from drinking. I'm running nightclubs right before that. You go from drinking 4 or 5 nights a week to 2. Because your body can't take that kind of abuse. Occasionally I drink 3, in my 30s still. But when I hit my 40s, I was at 2. And I got to my mid-40s, I was like once. And once in a while I drink twice in a week. Because you just can't beat your body up. But here's what I really learned. I learned from hanging out with Jake Roberts very early on. And Jake, I remember one night we were out, and I was like his driver and his chauffeur, and his young boy who did whatever the fuck he asked me to do. You want me to go get this? I'll go get that. I'll get this. I'll get that. We helped each other, but I was just trying to sponge, learn off of him. One night he threw I knew it was a Percocet in his mouth, and he chewed it. And I go, Jake, did you just chew that Percocet? He said, yeah. I said, why? He said, because it gets into your system faster. I said, how many is that? Mick, tonight. He said 10. I don't know, 9, 10. And I realized I'm 35. I need those things to work. I'm not going to do that. So I never mixed the booze with pills and pills with booze. Maybe I never did it more than 10 times, because that's when they start to lose their effectiveness because your high gets so much higher with the pills and then they don't work. And then I knew guys that took like 2 muscle relaxers, the Somas, they're really, really bad. And then they took 3 and then they took 4 at a time. Then they took 5 and then they forgot they took them 30 minutes later, took 5 more. And that's, it just was a bad scene of trying to help your body heal because all those people who say wrestling is bullshit and fake, you can't fake gravity.
No.
You can't take listen to Kid Rock talking about touring. That's all he does is tour. And he's beat up and has to take the pills. And touring to nobody grabbing your shit. You got to grab it and check it all in and put it all together and then drive 100, 200, 300 miles and then bounce around.
Because the reality of it as a wrestler is if you don't work, you don't make money. And
right. I was doing Hollywood Squares one time. I did it a couple times. But one of the times someone was asking me, so DDP, when is your season? When are you guys off?
There's no off season.
Yeah, I said, when we're hurt.
Wow.
You know, that's when we're off. Oh, you're hurt now. And then we're...
So you learned a lot as a manager. You did the manager for the Bad Luck Company, which was kind of cool. They got pretty big. The Freebirds, you can't get better than the Freebirds.
They were amazing.
Why don't you tell us the experience that you had and how much of a huge plus was it for you to not only be a manager, but to stand there and learn the game, learn the profession before you really became a main eventer that you did?
You know, there's no replacement for experience. And someone like Michael P.S. Hayes, who might have been one of the best ever, if he would have been, Michael P.S. Hayes would have been around today and was 23, he would just, you know, he would dwarf everyone because he was such a huge personality. And getting to be around him, and Jimmy Jam Garvin, who was an amazing entertainer as well. And, hey, bro, I'll talk to you about my cousin just leaving. Great seeing you. I love you, man. Okay. Yeah, call me later.
By the way. You're in Boston?
I'm in Boston right now.
I'm an hour away from Boston. You can't tell by the accent so far?
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to fall. I was waiting for you to realize I got that Boston accent. I haven't said pop the car yet. But. So... Talk about
By the way, if anybody's looking for a limo, Coastal Livery. CoastalLivery.com.
Is that where it is? CoastalLivery. There you go. Check them out.
Yeah.
Check them out. So talk about the experience because, you know, coming in at 35 and like before that, I mean, we're talking 1991. You were a manager of the Freebirds. Talk about that experience of like learn. I mean, like Michael PSA's, the reason he was so awesome because he was a total package. He was Lex Luger before Lex Luger was Lex Luger, so to speak. He was a total package. I mean, he could do work, he could sell, he could promo, he could do everything. Talk about that, learning from Michael PSA's on the mic, because you definitely learned a lot from Jake Roberts. You know, and when you can learn from Jake Roberts and Michael PSA's and put it together and be you and do what you do, that's what made you so awesome on the mic. Am I wrong?
And Dusty Rhodes. So Dusty Rhodes is, without Diamond Dallas Page, there is no, without Dusty Rhodes, there is no Diamond Dallas Page. Gave me every break I ever had in the beginning of my career. And I always say, without Jake Roberts, I'm never the main event guy. I'm never mind a 3-time world champion. You know, I'm never that guy. But Michael and I met when I was managing the Bad Company, and the AWA was doing a thing called not Clash of Champions, some kind of clash of something. It's their big pay-per-view. And they brought in the guys from Memphis, Jerry Lawler and the boys, and they brought in Von Erichs from the WCCW. And Michael, of course, was there with the Freebirds. And Mike and I happened to get together. Well, as a matter of fact, Mike was by himself at that time. So he needed a ride, and I got a ride from Jerry Jarrett, Jeff Jarrett's dad, who had run Memphis at the time. And me and P.S. Hayes are sitting in the back, and Jarrett and Eddie Marlin, who was the booker, is sitting up front. And Hayes could be such a ball buster. Like, when he first went through Jarrett's organization, he was a total J-bro. So, you know, he got treated like that. And I don't think that Jerry ever gave him the respect that he wanted because Michael was blowing smoke and smoking one cigarette after another and saying, Jerry hates when I smoke in his car. And he's blowing smoke at him and drinking. We talked for 3 hours. And what came out of that was Michael realized that I was not in professional wrestling to be a TV star. I was involved in professional wrestling because I loved it. And he appreciated it. And it blew my mind how close our gimmicks were And I had never seen him before I started doing it. I never even saw him until later after I already started doing the deal. And then I started to study him. I was like, oh my God, this guy's unbelievable. And I had seen him in The Highlander. Do you remember that movie?
Yes.
And he shows up with the whole Freebird thing. And I was going against, that was in the AWA at the time. That was an awesome opening there. But Hayes actually gave me his phone number. And like Dusty Rhodes, he would actually occasionally call me back.
Real quick, let me go through like a rapid fire. I could talk to you for 6 hours, by the way. I'm telling you right now. I would give you a free PFC, Run PFC shirt, but I'm afraid you'll shake my head and diamond cut me. But it's on the way. Real quick, 1997, the diamond cutter was rated the best wrestling move of that year. In my opinion, it still is. Why do you think that is?
I know why it is. It's because people want to be surprised. You know, if you watch a movie, you don't want to know the ending. You want to try and figure it out. But if you know it, you're like, I knew that. If you don't, you go, oh, like in The Sixth Sense, when she drops that wedding ring, and you realize, fuck, he's the ghost. I mean, I get goosebumps just thinking about that.
Yeah.
I was with Kimberly still at the time. I remember looking at her and go, baby, am I alive? You know, like, oh my God, because that knocked the shit out of me. It surprised the fuck out of me. With the diamond cutter, when they wouldn't let me beat anybody, and if you look on YouTube, there is a video called Diamond Cutters on Everyone. If you watch the people react, and then react, and then react, and then react, and then explode out of their seats when I hit the move, and the whole side of the building, you could see them doing this. If you go back and watch, it's a 2.5-minute video. If you go back and watch it again, watch who I hit those diamond cutters on.
I got two favorite ones. Real quick.
Right, before, let me cut you off. I hit them on nobodies, enhancement guys. And this is the answer to your question. Every one of those matches, I went out there and I came off like I gave them a good match, and then I let them beat me. It looks like, oh my God, they got him, and then bang.
You never seen it coming. That was your big promo. Two big highlights of diamond cutters, and I'm gonna ask you what your favorite ones. Paul White, when he had you, I mean, he had you on the top rope. You were done. Choke slam. You turned that around, and Eddie Guerrero, the late great Eddie Guerrero, the power bomb transformed into the diamond cutter. What was your all-time favorite diamond cutter? I think the Paul White one, because your face pretty much blew up and your eyeballs almost fell out of this, face, because you were like, "Wow, I did it! It was awesome!" And with that move, did you have to rehearse that more than once? Because
never did it.
Wow.
Never did either one of them before. Never did either one. Now I'd taken the choke slam off the top rope 3 times. Am I echoing? Are we okay?
No, you're good.
Okay. I'd taken that choke slam a bunch of times, so I knew how to get out there on that. And Paul White, the Big Show, the strongest human being I've ever felt. And I've felt some big, strong guys, and not like that. But, Goldberg, one of the strongest guys ever. And he dwarfed in strength next to Show. He's by far the strongest guys. He was going to choke slam me going into that angle where he picked up the WCW letters and he threw them. Then he picks me up. He's going to choke slam me through the air down to a lower stage. I'm going to go through the stage to the floor. This is 15 feet up. I'm about to sign a multi-million-dollar 3-year deal at the time. I haven't signed it yet. When Show grabs me by the throat, I go, "Gee," because I always called him Giant, right? "Gee, I haven't signed my contract yet." He goes, "Oh, God." And if you see him pick me up, you'll see him move his hands. And he moves it. And it's like he's holding me there. And then he sort of lets me go as lightly as he can. Crazy, crazy strong.
Do you have a highlight, like the best diamond cutter that made you literally jump up and be like, "Holy shit, that was freaking awesome. I just did a diamond cutter." Just like the way you did it or who you did it to.
It was the Eddie Guerrero one. It was the Eddie Guerrero one, because Eddie says to me before I go out there, "Hey, D, you ever do it out of the power bomb?" I go, "How the fuck are we going to do it out of the power bomb? Your junk's in my face." He goes, "No, roll me up on your shoulder." I go, what do I do then? He goes, "Boost me." I go, "Okay." Never did it. Walked out there, and I boosted him, and Eddie just went. It was perfect. I was so blown away that we nailed that, you know? Eddie was amazing.
Let's break down DDP Yoga. I literally have 6,000 questions, but I know you're short on time. DDP Yoga, what is the biggest challenge you had when you first began the concept of DDP Yoga?
Well, after it had healed my body, and I have to give you the backstory, I'm a guy who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga the first 42 years of my life. But when you start at 35, your career takes off at 40, you're looking for ways to hold back the hands of time all you can. But that was not one of them that worked for me, because I just mentally couldn't wrap my brain around it. I'm one of those guys. So once I did start it, though, because of necessity, because 3 doctors said my wrestling career was over, it started to click. And then I added in rehab. So rehab and yoga did this. Then I added in old school calisthenics, push-ups, squats, crunches. Then I did what I call dynamic resistance, which jacks your heart rate up. You're flexing and engaging muscles. So now I've got a workout that's kick-ass cardio. It will dramatically increase your flexibility and strengthen your core like never before with minimal joint impact. Mm-hmm. So in less than 3 months, I'm back in the ring. At 42, they say my career is over. At 43, I'm the heavyweight champ of the world. Oldest first crown champion ever by at least 5 years. Oldest ever. Never been done before. So I know that works for me. So can I get some other regular guys to get this? And then I meet one, and then I meet another, and then I meet another, and then I meet another. And before I know it, slowly, it's sort of, now it's exactly like my wrestling career. I made one fan, and I mean one fan at a time. And then it became 2, and so on and so on.
Like the big reason, it's almost like I was a giant fan of yours, like one of your biggest before. And then when you began this campaign, I became another biggest fan of you after wrestling, which is hard for the wrestlers to adapt to life after wrestling, and you have become a pioneer in that. Because it seems like when the crowd stops cheering, the wrestlers who are no longer wrestling are looking around like, what do I do? And they become lost with themselves. And you know, this became viral really quick because you have an individual. Arthur Bowman lost 140 pounds in 10 months. Right. I cried watching that video, and I'm a man. I can admit that. I literally, and you did as well when you seen him running towards you. Talk about that, right, and talk about the impact Arthur has had on you right now.
Well, I want to, this is the Pro Football, website right here, the Central, Pro Football Central. And football players have that same problem. Mm-hmm. So baseball players, boxers, basketball players, it happens to all of us who have gotten to the pinnacle of our profession. And then, boom, now all of a sudden you're not that guy anymore. So what do you do? I did something that I loved. I tell kids, adults, anyone who listen, find something you love to do and figure out a way to get someone to pay you to do it. That's the American dream. And we have that ability to do this in this great country of ours. Still, thank God. Arthur Borman, he's the biggest person that made me believe. You got to remember, I never developed this for yogis. No, yogis, you got all your shit over there. There's 1,000 different types of yoga. I'm developing this for the man first, number one, the man. Mm-hmm. Now the man and the woman that wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga. Mm-hmm. So think about that. I'm not taking the path less traveled. I'm taking the path where there is no path. I've got to get out my own bulldozer and make my own path. And that's what I've done. And Arthur Boorman has been a huge catalyst of that, because Arthur's the guy that proves anyone can do this and get amazing results doing it. If you're beat up, so beat up, this is who I made it for originally. Never about weight loss. He lost 140 pounds in 10 months. More importantly, Arthur lost the knee braces, the back brace, and those wraparound canes. That's who I developed it for. Guys who were injured like myself. I developed it for the athlete after, you know, the high school, the college, the intramurals. Because we beat the hell, if you never played high school or college ball, but you played intramurals, you beat the hell out of your body. Yo, you're an athlete. You still want to ski. You play softball. Go surf and whatever. I don't want you to feel like you got hit by a truck the next day. That's where DDP Yoga originally came in. Now, because Arthur lost so much weight in such a short period of time, so many other people started dropping literally hundreds of pounds. Again, anyone can do this. I got a guy who's 601 pounds. His name is Slim Gillian. He lost 203 pounds in 1 year. Got another guy, and he's still on that course, and he's doing amazing. Got another guy named DJ. He started at 519. He lost 210 pounds in 17 months.
Wow.
These are guys that are not only changing their life, they're owning their life. Now, that's on that scale. Let's go over to the athlete. Like I just started working with King Mo. King Mo was 11-1. Then he lost his last 2 fights. I was at his last one and got to meet him and got to know him pretty good. And this is another thing he's going to have in his toolbox. You know, a guy who's an amazing shaper and an amazing athlete. Maybe I can help take him again to that next level. You know, that's where I'm looking to go now, to the NFL players, not just that are beat up and out of the game. I'm talking about the guys that are in the game. Because when you finally get to that spot in the show, whether it's the MLB or the NFL or UFC, I don't care where it is, when you finally get the WWE, got so many guys there doing it because they get it, because they watched me. When you finally get to that top spot, don't get hurt.
Don't tear an ACL. Don't tear an ACL.
Right.
Do you realize how many torn ACLs have happened this year in the NFL?
Crazy.
Way too many. Way too many.
Crazy.
And a lot of what your program, and this is me paying it forward, you know, being a big fan of yours and you paying it forward with the Jake thing, everything like that, paying it forward is huge for me. I'm gonna, I've talked to a couple players already and they've grown up watching you like I have. I don't want to make you feel old or anything like that, champ. I promise you.
No, I'm 57 years young.
We're gonna pay it forward and get a bunch of players on DDP Yoga. I'm going to be getting DDP Yoga. I'm out of shape. I got a bad back and everything. I'm pledging right now. It's on video. I'm doing DDP Yoga. You can follow up with me if you want. I'll follow up with you with my progress. I got you right there. How much of a challenge is it? Do you feel like you have a new body? And if you do, how much of it is it like maybe I can do one more run? Because you look amazing, and I'm not hitting on you anything honestly, but you look amazing, and you did make that quick little run in with Heath Slater, and you gave him like the diamond cutter. Does it feel like you have a new lease on life and a new body? And like, I did break the barrier at 35 and world champion at 43. Maybe I can do it one more time and show Randy Orton, who is the originator, who's the king of bada bing, and show Randy Orton, who did take your move, and honor you in that, hopefully, that you still got one more run in you.
I'm a big Randy Orton fan, and he thinks we've got to run. I don't. I don't think Vince will ever do it. I don't think that's in the cards, and I'm hoping they never tempt me with that. Do I have another run? I don't want another run. Would I do something with Randy? Absolutely. But I don't. I'm hoping it never happens. You be thankful for things that happen, don't happen. Careful what you wish for. I really don't want that. Brian, my body is so strong right now. my body feels so good. That ring, every time you step in it, and I show up at independent shows, and I'll guarantee you one thing. If you hear I'm on a card at an independent show, I won't be wrestling. You'll think I wrestled because of the little show that I put on, but I'll guarantee you someone will be leaving with taking a diamond cutter. There might be two of them. I want to do that into my 70s. That's a goal of mine, but just one move. Mm-hmm. I don't want to do anything else because I know how to fall on my back. I know how to take someone. If they don't go with me, I take them anyway. You can either go or I'll just take you. But that's all I really want to be in there. And once I hit that diamond cutter and I come up and I get an amazing response from the fans, I play that Arthur video. Mm-hmm. That video that you talked about, anybody who's watching, if you've never seen the video of Arthur Borman, go to ddpyoga.com and hit on the videos, things that are there. It's pretty amazing. It's got 10 million views. This was our 2nd year anniversary. We started my DDP Yoga company. I've been doing it for 10 years, but I rebranded everything DDP Yoga. It ain't your mama's yoga. I rebranded that 2 years ago this February. I mean, this Black Friday. I'm sorry, 2 years ago this Black Friday, and we did a huge sale this over the holidays, and it went amazing. Arthur's video went to 10 million views on our 2nd year anniversary. So it's so many. Scott and Jake, you saw the HBO special,
yes,
right?
Absolutely. Now let me ask you about Scott and Jake. There's been other wrestlers contacting you, wanting you to help. How much of a challenge is it for you? I mean, you're one person. You can't help everybody at once. How much of a challenge is it with, I'm pretty sure your phone gets blown up with, pro wrestlers past and present, past with issues wanting to help, asking you for help. How much of an issue is it for you, because you're only one person, to help everybody and keep everybody happy and get them healthy and rebuild them, but you're only one person? So what I'm trying to ask is, how much of an issue is it for you, and are you choosing someone else who you think could really benefit from it? Scott Hall looks amazing. I love Scott Hall. Jake Roberts looks amazing. Great job on that. Thank you, by the way, for rebuilding them. They are amazing. They're hulking up. They look amazing. Is there anyone else who has reached, obviously you don't have to say who it is, that has reached out to you for help, and how much of a challenge is it for you to try to help everybody?
Well, for starters, a few guys have reached out to me because they want to know, how did I get Jake and Scott off the bottle? That's not what I do. That just happened to work out like that. I'm not a rehab guy. Those two guys have a long history with me, and I could move them into my homes. The first thing I did was get him eating real food, and then the next thing I did was get him doing DDP Yoga, which there's no impact. So they can start to get their bodies feeling better. And once you start to take away the pain, well, the other shit just comes. And when you get them eating real food as opposed to processed shit, they feel better. And it's all about getting your body to feel better and take away the pain. Because these guys beat the fuck out of their bodies, and then threw the drugs and the pills and the booze in there. Scott wasn't a druggie, but he was a big pillhead and booze, drinking vodka for breakfast when he came in. I worked out with him last week. To look at Scott Hall today and know 9 months ago he rolled up in the ATL airport on a wheelchair. It boggles his mind. I mean, I always Dally, I just love you so much. Give me a big hug, helping his son get over, out there, get the word out about Cody as well. I mean, those two guys I had real bonds with, real long-term bonds. And we were friends for over 23 years, 25 years, me and Scott. So the other guys who've called me, when it comes to the bottle thing, I can't really help you with that. I can tell you I can help you take pain away. And once you take the pain, start to focus on something else, because all of my buddies in that world, they're all body guys. They're all body guys. Mm-hmm. Well, let's get your body back to feeling better. let me help you that way. Now, as far as guys who are beat up and run down, helped a lot there. And it's easy because you give them the DVDs, I answer a few questions, and boom. Like Chris Jericho, the biggest advocate on the planet for me. He's amazing. I love him. We help each other.
Gold Dust doing a Hurricane Rana Monday night.
Gold Dust, dude.
A freaking Hurricane Rana. The second he did that, DDP Yoga was in my head.
There's nobody, again, out there like Gold Dust, Edge, Al Snow. I mean, so many guys. Ryback was on the show that I was just on today on the Fox show with Gene Levanchi, and totally unsolicited. Didn't know that Gene and I were boys or anything. Said DDP Yoga is what keeps me, along with his lifting weights, but that's what keeps him pliable at 300 pounds and strong. That built back Ryback's core strength. He was in a hospital bed for 18 months when he had that last injury. That's how fucked up he was. And for him to come back out the way he has and to put DDP Yoga over is awesome.
Makes you feel good though, right?
Unbelievable.
But how much of a challenge is what's next for you? How can you top what you're doing now? Is that an issue or a problem for you to be like, okay, 2013 was fucking amazing. You've done everything you could do. You're top of the world, top of the food chain. 2014 DDP. What can you do to top 2013?
My goal is to make I want to change the way people look at the word yoga. Okay, I get that the humming and the chanting yoga is over there, but understand that yoga is really unbelievable. I don't care what kind you do. DDP Yoga just makes it more accessible. I want to change the meaning of the word yoga. The guy who was one of my mentors, because I watched what he did and I liked a lot of the stuff that he did in his live classes, the guy named Brian Kest. And 5 years ago, no bullshit, 5 years ago, I asked him in LA, in one of his classes, I said, Brian, do you think I could maybe do some workshops? That's what I'm here for. I'm here for a workshop in Dover, New Hampshire. And if you want to come, you're invited. In Dover, New Hampshire. And I said, do you think I'd ever be accepted in yoga studios? And he started laughing. He goes, Dallas, I'm not accepted in some yoga studios because he's a little bit, his own animal. He invented power yoga. I would say he invented it. He made it famous. And he said, I got to tell you straight out. He said, you are the doorway to yoga. He said, it's just about 5 years ahead of the curve right now. His words. I go, dude, no, you're the doorway to yoga. He goes, no, not to the masses. That's you. So I want to change the way people look at the word yoga. That's a big goal of mine. And I'll tell you what, it's really only people 40 and up, because I just left the WWE PC. Triple H has built the most amazing performance center for the WWE for the young talent to come up, from the TV to the way they film their TV down there, which is like a mini Raw, their next generation, the studs and studettes that they have down there with their 7 rings. I mean, their video studios, their training center. I mean, it's NFL quality. That's how good it is. And I'll guarantee you're going to see a lot of guys come from the NFL after they go. Most guys last 3 years, 1, 2, 3, 4 years. What do? A lot of those guys are huge fans. Okay, go get a tryout with WWE PC. That's where you're going to see a lot of them go, I would bet. There was 50 guys there, 51 guys, and 16 women. Before we did my seminar, which is when I came down there, I played the Arthur video for them. And some of the guys, you could tell, were getting choked up too, Try not to friggin' cry. And everybody was just like with their mouth open, because a lot of them never saw that video. So then we sat down. I said, so let me ask everyone a question here, and I want you to be honest with me. I said, who has a problem with the word yoga? And I raised my hand. No one else does. I go, okay, that's nice. You're polite. I'm asking you a real question here. Understand, the guy who's asking the question, for the first 42 years of my life, I'm a guy who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga. So I get it. Who's got a problem with the word yoga? Nobody. They were 29 and younger, and they were all like, we can't wait to do it. Every one of them came up, and I gave every one of them the DVDs because I want them to be able to heal their body, because I explained the same thing I was talking to you about. When you finally get to the show, whether it's the NBA, NFL, MLB, hockey, I don't care what it is, NHL, you don't want to get hurt. Because when you finally get that spot, that opportunity to get in that spot, and I'll name a guy, oh God, Tom Brady got a shot after somebody got hurt. What happened then?
Bledsoe, my area. And, you know, there's a lot of franchise tag players who don't want to be franchise tag. They're making 12 mil a year, but they don't want to be franchise tag because if they get injured, there goes their contract. There's about 5 or 6 players off the top of my head that I know who are out for the year who were going to be free agents next season, and their money just went down the drain because they're injured.
Ryan, I'm telling you, let's say there was 10 ACLs that went out this year. We know it was more than that, but let's just say it was that. You give me those 10 guys, and I would bet my life maybe 2 go out. If I got them to make this DDP Yoga part of their toolbox and put this into their, keep lifting your weights. Hey, this is your cardio. Because everybody's got to do cardio, especially in the NFL, and you got to run too. But you need to be able to build cardiovascular conditioning and not beat up your body. Because if you're in the NFL, this is Pro Football Central, if you're in the NFL, everything you do, you're beating up your body. Boom, 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 boom. It's high impact. Everything. From the weights to the running to the jumping to the plyometrics. Whoa, let's do something where we go. And now we strengthen. And I'm not talking stretching. I'm talking about when I do DDP Yoga and I'm engaging every muscle when I'm moving like I'm lifting weights. I'm not only strengthening and lengthening, I'm strengthening the muscles, the ligaments, and the tendons. The other day I was leaving a buddy at my house, multimillionaire in LA, and I got some bags with me. And I thought I went through all the steps. And when I got to that last step, I didn't know it was there. And my legs started to go out from under me. And because I'm so strong and flexible, I caught it, spun, and popped right back up. Now, 99.9% of the men who are over 50, maybe 45, who do that, they tear their ACL. They tore their knee so bad, there's not a chiropractor that can straighten them out. Me, I popped back up, went, woo! Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. I did a couple of bent-legged bar backs, straightened my legs out, stretched myself out. I was like, okay. I was fine.
Wow.
But that's because of the work that's been put in.
We're going to work together.
We are.
I know 6 players who tore their ACL, and having discussions with them after the game, they're defeated, man. They're broken.
Sure.
And getting them with you is going to be amazing for them. And my message to the fans is, if you're not inspired by this interview, check your pulse. Because you don't have a pulse if you're not inspired by it. This man is a living example of, if you bust your ass and you believe, the power of believing is amazing. And if you believe you can do something, and you're going to be told no. Listen, I have a speech impediment. I was born, like, here's a little bit about me. I was born with a speech impediment. My father has a speech impediment. I didn't go to college because reading out loud wasn't my forte. And I do a radio show. And I stutter sometimes. You know, you might have heard it here and there. But if you believe and you take the challenge and take the microphone and say, you know what? You don't scare me. This microphone doesn't scare me. It's just a microphone. Like the people on Twitter, they don't scare me. It's the inspiration of believing you can do something. And you've been a big inspiration to me, DDP. And I've taken up 20 extra minutes of your time, and I apologize for that. We can go 6 hours, my friend. Thank you so much. DDPyoga.com. I'm going to pass it off to you.
Before we go, I wanted to share one last story because we're talking about a lot of athletes.
Time. The floor is yours.
Whether it's professional athletes or your weekend warrior or whatever you may be. I talked about this today with a buddy of mine, and I've never really mentioned on any show. When you look at the best of the best, how did they become the best? How did let's look at the NBA. The leading scorer of all time is Jabbar. Jabbar, 7 played till he was 40. It might have been 41, but I know it was into his 40s. Name me 3 other players, if you could name one, that played into their 40s in the NBA. I know baseball, we got a few. But name me another one that played and is anywhere near top 20 leading scorers. He abused his body at a whole different level. And if you see Jabbar today, he looks amazing. How, when all the other guys are all crippled up and 6'8", 10 inches shorter than him, how come they're all crippled up? He did yoga for 20 years of his life while he was playing. Into his 20s, he started doing yoga with my boy Brian Kess. And it became a staple part of his workout. That's where I'm going. I'm going to the professional athlete. Because if I have disabled veteran Arthur Borman that can have these amazing results, what could you do? Mm-hmm. And that's really what it comes down to. Bro, awesome being on the show with you. And I've got a feeling me and you are going to become good buddies. What are you doing on Saturday?
I'll check my schedule, but
check your schedule. You got an invitation. Come over there, get some firsthand stuff. We're packed. It's sold out. You
awesome.
Know, but I'll make room for you.
I appreciate that. I greatly appreciate that. This was on my Christmas list. This isn't I was gonna say kayfabing you, but I was trying to talk wrestling talk with you. This isn't bullshitting you. DDP Yoga is something that is number 1 on my Christmas list, and
I'm gonna give it to you.
I appreciate that. I threw my back out recently picking up a lawn table, and I'm like, I'm almost 30. I'm 30 February 1st. I can't, I gotta get to the best me possible. And it's not only getting in shape, but it's actually improving yourself every day and staying in the best possible shape. And that's why I think you and I are going to be good partners and friends, because growing up of watching you, and it's kind of cool having the guy with the glasses and the long blonde hair with the smoking like a stogie, all of a sudden now is doing DDP Yoga. And that's where fans relate. They're like, Diamond Dallas Page? You mean the guy with Karl Malone and Jay Leno who was kicking ass and diamond cutting people is doing this now? And I think that's why you relate to people, because you're changing the word yoga. And I thank you for your time. I'm going to pass the floor off to you one last time. Let everyone know where they can find you. And real quick, let everyone know about the big sales you got going on at ddpyoga.com, please.
If you want to change your life, I tell people, they say, well, how often do I have to do it? It's like, what do you want? Always ask yourself, what do you want before you ask a question like that? I'll tell you, if you do DDP Yoga 20 minutes a day, 3 days a week, change the way you feel. I guarantee it. You do it 4 days a week, 40, 45 minutes a day, you start to change your life. You do it 5 days a week or more, try to get an hour a day in, you own your life. No one dictates to me what I can or can't do. I do. DDPyoga.com. We have so much information up there. You have a question, well, what do the workouts look like? Well, go to workout section. There's a trailer on all 11 of those. There's a trailer on the extreme workouts. That's all there. It starts at a beginner level. That disabled veteran, you can watch it there on ddpyoga.com as he loses the 140 pounds, but more importantly, like I said, loses the knee brace and the back brace and the wraparound cane, not just to walk, but run. He will be in the very first video with you. It's called Energy. It's a 23-minute workout. That's it. There'll be someone modifying the position, and there'll be someone doing it at its most extreme. That will be Arthur. And then when you get to the double black diamond, which is 70 minutes, there'll be 4 people there. There'll be someone modifying every position, meaning making it the most easy possible, the easiest way, like being on a knee. And then there'll be 3 other people. And then there'll be someone doing its most extreme positions. That'll be Arthur. So inspire yourself. And on one last note, I'm just going to tell you, bro, you said something about your speech impediment and how you overcome it and face your fears. I was reading at a 3rd grade level at the age of 30. So as you can imagine, reading out loud for me as a kid was a fucking nightmare. Mm-hmm. At 30 years old, I made a decision I was going to learn how to read proficiently. At 31, I read my first book from cover to cover. It took fucking forever, but I did it.
It was worth
it. At 30, it was worth it. Remember, A to Z. 10 years later, with the help of one of my best friends, we wrote my first book, Positively Page, The Diamond Dallas Page Journey. I constantly work on my reading and reading out loud because I'm constantly trying to improve and get better. Repetition is the mother of learning. Face your fears. If you're looking for a workout that's going to make, because DDP Yoga, the breathing and how I teach you to breathe like an athlete is the most important thing that's happened to me to help my reading, my focus. That being said, you want to invest in your life, go to ddpyoga.com. The rest, it's all there. Brian, thank you so much for your time, pal. It's been your pleasure.
DDP, the original people's champion. And the big thing, real quick, is you are so hands-on with fans on Twitter. Follow you on Twitter at DDP Yoga. You're very hands-on with the people because you are the people's champion. Thank you so much, my man.
Hey, it's been your pleasure.